All right, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Camilla Martin-Proctor. We are here with the Martin MS Alliance Foundation, and we are starting our first. Hi, good afternoon, Sean. How are you? Can you hear me? Let me make sure that I'm not muted. No, I'm not muted. Can you hear me? And can't hear you. Okay, can't hear you yet. It appears to be going through the system, and I am going to check my laptop. But, oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Wonderful. It is such a pleasure to meet you. I actually love that the session opened up with that little quirk of "Can you hear me now?" Just kind of loosen things up for a minute. I want to really express my appreciation for being willing to join this session. I know that you don't know me and you're good friends with Kaylee, but I feel like I know you now after going through your Instagram page and seeing the amazing work that you do.
Thank you.
It's positively stunning. And I can't wait to see the next stuff, the next batch of amazing couture shoes. It's just where you come up with the brilliance is just, I guess, a curse of genius to a certain extent. So we thank you for that. We thank you for the courage of putting it out there, because some people just keep it to themselves.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure.
Excellent. I'm waiting for Kaylee, just giving it a little bit more time, but while we're here, we can kind of go over what I hope to talk about and what this session really is about. As you're aware, it's the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and our foundation, the MS Alliance, which focuses on multiple sclerosis and communities of color, as well as other chronic conditions, disabilities, want to celebrate and kind of honor this season with looking at various aspects of the intersections of disability and art. We're going to look at disability in education and how they all intersect, especially during this very unique time. A little bit about me: my master's thesis was on disability images in film, and I used to volunteer with the Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts. So though I'm not an artist, I believe that the arts has a way of communicating things and telling our story and our history on this little blue marble better than anything else we could possibly do. So that's why I think this session is really kind of critical. I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sean Payne. I'm an artist at Art Naples. It's Art Naples is a art and studio art studio and gallery in Washington, D.C. for adults with disabilities, and it doesn't matter what disability you have: autism, we have artists who have various disabilities. I am autistic. I have autism, but I refuse to let my own disabilities to get in the way of becoming the next Andy Warhol or the next Christian Louboutin, which is a shoe designer.
Yes, it is. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Hi, Kaylee.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
We're well. We are so well. I spoke a little bit about what we were doing here, and I was going to let Sean have the opportunity to kind of introduce himself, and I was hoping to do the same as well.
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in the community as far as the arts.
Yeah, well, my name is, I'm Kaylee, so good to see you guys. I am the first director of Stable, which is an arts organization in DC, a brand new one that was started by artists to support artists. And we really believe in amplifying the voices of DC artists and creating an environment for arts to not just survive in the district, but also thrive. And we do that through offering below market studio spaces and having both internal program for our artists and really fabulous exhibition and great programming that anybody can enjoy.
And we love that you guys are that conduit for bringing us new and beautiful talent. And as I was telling Sean, helping to tell the story of our community and society in general in a way that can't possibly be expressed in any other truer fashion than through the arts. But, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know who you are. So Kaylee also has worked with the DC Office of Humanities.
I worked, before this role, I was at the Commission on the Arts and Humanities. And I have worked at the Office of Disability Rights, and I have worked for an organization called Best Buddies International, which supports people with developmental disabilities and creating one-to-one friendships with peers without. I'm a sibling of a brother with Down syndrome. I studied art for years, although I'm not an artist. I do much better on the administration side. My brother is an artist. I just feel really passionately about supporting people with disabilities, because I think it's there's so much talent and excitement around that movement. So yeah, it's really good to be able to bring my passions for supporting people with disabilities as an ally into the field that I work in now in the arts.
And we always appreciate our allies and bringing those pieces together. And what we definitely want to try and do today through this session is that we're having is kind of talk about what we're looking at with regards to disability and the arts. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining us for this bigger conversation, which is kind of one of the hashtags we like to use. So we're having that full encompassing value of looking at the arts through this lens and within the community. And I know you saw our little outline, and one of the things that we want to talk about initially is what arts within the disability community kind of looks like from your perspective.
Yeah, I think Sean probably would be a great person to start with that. Your take on arts and disability world.
And what?
Well, it's kind of arts in the disability world is it's a perfect marriage, because you might because it's the best way to express yourself through your art.
I love that. Art, a mode of real honest and real expression. Kaylee, I know that you said that you're not an artist, but I have several people that would disagree. And a series of beautiful miniatures that have been up and posted and on online. So how do you feel art commits and connects with the community?
Yeah, I really like the way Sean put that it's really a beautiful marriage, because there's such an opportunity to express yourself. I think, if you feel that you are not given a platform to express yourself traditionally, or your means of communication differ from the society at large, that I think art can be an outlet for that. That can be another way to communicate your views, your observations of the world around you. It's a way to critique what's going on around you. It's a way to experience and process through your own emotions in a really beautiful way, that not necessarily like just talking about it or traditional methods of kind of working through these things. Art is just another, a great platform for that.
Oh, I love how you said that, especially with regards to it being a conduit for not only dealing with your emotions, but critiquing what's going on around you. I know that we have seen a lot of the posters that have gone up all over Washington, D.C. and across the world, the nation, regarding the current national health emergency and the pandemic, and also the call for social justice and the call for equality across the board. I know the Supreme Court just recently, if not yesterday, then first thing today, came down with the fact that individuals that are part of the LGBTQ family now are covered and under the current civil rights laws. I personally didn't know that why that was a question. I think it always was. But now you see more art talking or speaking to that. Sean, if I can ask you, do you gather inspiration for what you do from what's taking place in the community around you?
Well, not not often, not very often. Uh,
Then where
I'm
do you,
surprised to hear you say that, Sean, because I feel like when I look at your artwork, in particular, the series around shoes, the shoes that you design, there's
yeah.
so much influence of Washington, D.C. and D.C. culture. And
Sometimes sometimes I incorporate my my artwork with incorporate DC landmarks as a background.
yeah,
Or my
maybe it's just me, maybe that's not why you intended it, but I feel like I see so much inspiration, like you mentioned, like the landmarks and just, you know, the way that the shoe design kind of is a response to different key areas in DC. I find that in your art. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. Maybe you have a different intention with it.
Yeah, there's one piece I think was a few years that I made a few years ago at our Naples, which features Ben's Chili Bowl
mm-hmm. Yeah.
as a background to the to the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar's Ben's Chili Bowl is such a staple, like such an iconic, yeah, and yeah. I mean, Miss Ali's still in the kitchen as far as I know, like still running the show. And yeah, it's just like such a huge, important, huge staple in DC.
And there's another piece that piece that I made featuring the I think it was the Washington I think and a boot I think and I made a boot piece
Okay.
which features I think it was a Lincoln Memorial. I think it was the Lincoln Memorial, and the boot piece is called Heartbreaker in DC.
Oh.
I think it's currently on sale at my Art Naples webpage.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad that you began to speak to that, because that was one of the things, key topics that we wanted to kind of discuss here, the profitability and the conduits and representation of arts within the community, within the disability community in particular, and how it can be financially sustainable for individuals. I know Art Enables gives that platform. What other platforms have you found that has helped make your art a sellable and financial product for yourself?
Well, unfortunately, Art Naples is my only source.
Okay.
I,
We definitely need to then find a way to expand on it. I know, Kaylee, you also work with an organization that does grants for individuals that come up with awesome projects.
Yeah. I'm no longer a member, but I was a former dean of the Awesome Foundation in DC. I'm very, very proud of the work that that group does. It's a self-funded group of trustees, which means everybody pooled in $1,000 of their own money, and every month we voted on and gave away $1,000, no strings attached, micro grants to anything that's awesome, that's in DC, that's immediately actionable, and that where $1,000 is going to make a difference. So yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those just like kind of cool, quirky, fun little pockets. They're still going strong. I think I actually saw that they just gave out 4 grants in a month, which is huge. 1,000. That's like the most they'd ever done. So really, really proud of the work that they keep doing. Yeah, there are little kind of quirky pockets out there, but you really have to dig for them. Unfortunately, there's not like a single place to go to find that. So, as an artist, it's really about really staying true to your craft and like building your artistic craft and your talent, but you also have to be a business person. And I think that that's a really challenging part of it, because you have to write all of those grants, and you need to build your customer base, and you need to do that kind of outreach, and all of the things that you would do as a business owner, to make sure that your art is seen and profitable. I mean, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Yeah, that was, yeah, that's unfortunately, I always loved to. Yeah, I'm hold on. My dad's calling me.
Yeah.
Tell Dad we said hi.
Yeah.
Dad, I'm in a meeting. I'm in a meeting.
No, it's a blessing to have.
No, I'm in a meeting. Hey, I'm in a meeting. Okay. I'm okay.
Hi, Dad.
I'm sorry about that, ladies.
Oh, Ron. But continue with your thought, because I love where you were going with that, where you find trying to find that balance of being an artist.
Yeah, I like to add, because I like to add, as much as I always love making art. I really do. But unfortunately, I have to have a day job. To earn some more income. To buy some supplies, like some rhinestone embellishments to put on my shoes. And my mom always told me, and God bless her, and God bless her for that. She unfortunately, she passed away last year. My mom always told me, they said, Sean, I know you love our neighbors, but our neighbors alone, they can't. But you need to have a day job. Or you can't have that earn enough income just our neighbors alone.
I think that experience, Sean, is a very common, especially among artists, that many of the artists at Stable also have a 9-to-5 job. And I think that I've heard a lot of artists say that their parents worried, oh my goodness, if you're going to take this plunge and you want to be an artist, will you be able to make a living, and will you be able to to pay your bills just as an artist? I think there are many parents who have that kind of same fear. It's a bold move to be an artist, and you're not alone.
And we're kind of
and yeah, and plus I don't live in DC. I live in Greenbelt, Maryland, which is outside, which is a suburb.
Right. That's wonderful.
Which is near the GW Parkway and the Beltway.
Yes, it is.
And my father is my only source of transportation from home to our neighbors.
Right.
Which is another challenge. But because every day I usually think about, what if my dad is sick and he can't take me to our neighbors?
Right.
And another dilemma that I have is, I only go to our neighbors on Mondays, and go to my day job on Tuesdays through Fridays.
Sean, I feel like you're touching on so many common issues that a lot of artists with disabilities experience. If you are not able to drive, or you have to really rely on people who give supports to you, it just really complicates it. It's much harder to take ownership of where you're going and how you're spending your time, when, although your support network might be really valuable and like really needed and you appreciate them, it still adds another layer of challenges to be able to pursue a life of an artist.
That's true. We were just trying to grasp on what are those gaps and where can we provide and have better partnerships for more supportive services for individuals that want to do the arts, that are in that community. So the gaps we see are financial, and then with regards to transportation and the other supportive service issues that kind of layer on top of that. So having better connections with our community partners that are out there that can kind of help find and supply those gaps. We need to get a partnership with Uber. We need to get a partnership with Lyft. You can decorate one of their cars, and that means that, you get rides for that month to Art Enables. That could be an awesome idea that we could put together to see if they would be willing to partner with us for that, if that is one of the gaps that artists are experiencing within the community. Do you feel that there is equitable representation of individuals with disabilities within the art community? Haley?
Yeah. I mean, I don't identify as somebody with a disability, but from my observation, no, I don't think that there's enough representation. And I wonder too, obviously there are many invisible disabilities, so I don't have an accurate account of that. But I think there could be stronger. Yeah.
Sean, how do you feel about that?
I think that's wonderful.
If there was more representation.
Yeah, to get more representation. Yeah, across the board. I also wanted to ask you how you feel about access. A lot of these organizations, thank goodness we have Art Enables, but we live in the nation's capital. The number of museums, galleries, art studios, Millennium pop-ups, is access to those areas comparable for you? Are they accessible? Are they inclusive? Do they do any outreach really in the disability community? And if not, how can we better make that connection?
Well, one of the things that I think is really important, and one of the reasons why I worked in the advocate community, like professionally, and had sort of steered away from that, is because I feel really strongly about this community, and I want to be able to bridge those gaps. I think if those of us that feel strongly about disability rights stay in that world, it becomes very siloed. And so that was really one of the reasons why I personally chose a career shift into arts administration. And I try to bring a lot of that in my role as Director of Advancement and Operations at Stable, like always making sure we have budget for reasonable accommodations, and being, even just thinking about how we're using the space and how we can anticipate if somebody were to come and want to be in our space. And I'll give you an example. Our building is 3 levels, and it's an old building, and we don't have a ramp and we don't have an elevator. So if you're an artist on the 2nd or the 3rd floor, and we do have studios on the ground floor. So if we had an artist who wasn't able to use the stairs, then we have options for that. But let's say you have guests coming who can't use stairs. We have a room that's set aside on the 1st floor that all artists have access to, and it's a multi-purpose room for assembling, having meetings, but it can also be used to set up and display your art, to show it to customers, to guests, however, curators, whatever. So just like thinking about our space, and these are things that are like, it doesn't cost me any extra to have that space. That's one of like a really great example of a reasonable accommodation that I've thought through, but it didn't cost me any money, and it doesn't cost me any time other than to send an email that all of our artists know that that's an option for them. And I think that that's just such a key thing, and it's getting people on board with that to make it more accessible. I think sometimes these institutions, the federal, they're guided by federal law, so usually they have a better understanding, or have somebody that can be an ADA coordinator. But some of these others, I think the misconception is that to be accessible is expensive. It's not possible. Everybody's so overwhelmed with so much work. And I feel like that's a really big myth, that it can actually be really easy, really, really easy.
Right. Sean, have you run into any of those barriers with regards to trying to get your artwork displayed or seen, or even in the front door sometimes?
Uh, 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 you're breaking up. Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so sorry. I was just wondering if you've run into any, what barriers that you may or may not have run into with regards to getting your artwork displayed or seen, whether those were physical barriers for the space not necessarily being accessible, or any perceived misconceptions about art and artists in the community.
Uh, well, actually, no. No. Yeah, actually, no. No. Our Naples, our Naples does provide. Uh, our Naples does provide. Uh, yeah,
Does provide you with that accessibility. I love that that's partnership in that platform is really good. And I was just thinking, Kaylee, that these are some of the best practices that we can truly highlight. The stuff that you're doing at Stable and the stuff that Art Enables is doing, making it a door, an accessible door for everybody to be able to go through and express art in that way. Sean, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about ADA30? And what do you see in regards to the future of art in the next 30 years in the disability community?
uh, I I think I th- I think I think the next 30 years is probably I think there's going to be a lot of new technology to for artists to promote their art.
You're kind of a whiz at Instagram. I feel like you really take advantage of what is there.
Yeah, I use both Instagram and Facebook, and I also use I also use uh what's the what's the job uh,
Oh,
app,
Really?
LinkedIn, yeah. I
yeah.
think the next 30 years we'll be seeing more and more we'll be seeing more artists with disabilities using that social media platform.
Mhm. Yeah.
What do you think? I love that idea.
Yeah, and thankfully, you know, we have
And to add to that, I don't think I think these social media platforms will replace um, museums.
Mhm. Okay.
I really do, because social media. I hope I think the next 30 years, social media will replace um, all the museums. You like the Hirshhorn and the Smithsonian and what's that museum in and the Met in New York City.
So this is where I disagree with you, Sean, because I think that there's no replacement for experiencing art in person. I think that, you know, some art translates really well into photograph, and some of it you just really have to be there to experience it. In its presence is a meaningful experience for me. So I think this is where you and I have a little bit of a disagreement. I think that social media plays a very, very important role. I always try to take pointers from you because I think you navigate it extremely well, and network really well on it too. You use it very smartly. But I just, oh, I couldn't see a world without museums and being able to go experience art in person. And I'm very thankful that we have the Americans with Disabilities Act, because things like federal museums or places like that, we know that people with disabilities rights are protected, and that they, you know, we know that they're entitled to experience that with people without disabilities like me. That's a really important component. And thankfully we have the ADA to help ensure those rights.
Well, I can tell you.
But you got to think about it too. Well, we're in a pandemic. We have to. We can't. We have to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah, right now we can't go visit those museums and galleries and all of the wonderful things we like to.
You know what I think? I think you both are saying the same thing, but in a different format. What I like about, or what I can see happening in the next 30 years, is that this pandemic has opened up the fact that this platform, these social media platforms, technology, is going to give more access for individuals that physically can't be there, with the 3D immersive views. But it will create a new door for art and for artists to be displayed, without hopefully taking away from that personal experience of being able to go to the museums. Maybe finally finding a true, actual financial platform to help support art and new artists. I'm blessed to live in Washington, D.C., where walking into a museum is free. It ain't like that everywhere, which was a shocker to my heart. But maybe some of these social media platforms can provide that financial conduit to make the art experience more accessible in person, and also support some new and creative and out of the box thinking artists. We need to do a better outreach in the community to pull in more art and more artists from across the spectrum. So that's what I hope to see in ADA30. And I think that's what you two see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that idea of being able to use technology to enhance the experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both so much for your time. And were there any other comments or parting words you want to leave us with regards to how you feel art in the disability community and ADA30 will be moving forward and helping to express what's happening right now, and what we as a community can do better to fill some of those gaps that you talked about, Sean, and to highlight some of these best practices that you talked about, Kaylee, so that people can see that they are all there and they can merge and can work together.
Sean, do you have any parting words?
I beg your pardon?
Do you have any final thoughts or parting words?
Yeah.
Well, from my perspective, Sean, I tell people to come see your art.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I hope when our Naples reopens, people would go see my art.
Well, give us your Twitter handle. Where can we find you on these social media platforms?
At my Instagram page is at Sean Payne. It's Sean Payne. That's Sean with a lowercase s and Payne with the lowercase p. That's at Sean Payne 4265. That's my Instagram page.
Yes. So we want everybody to go that's within earshot of this or that's watching this to go check out this amazing art. Ladies, the shoes on there will just make you drool.
They're really fun.
Yes, we want to see, it's Sean Payne, and it's Payne with a Y. So SHAWNPAYNE. And he is on the Instagram platform. And I know that this will all be posted, and it will be, you'll be able to read through the full transcript and get to see some of his art. And Kaylee, any last words from you?
Yeah, just congratulations to everybody on 30 years. It's a really big deal. Every every anniversary feels like a milestone and something that I personally try to take to reflect on and think about what I could be doing more to create a more inclusive movement and amplify voices of people, specifically artists with disabilities. And just, I hope that people will come and visit Stable, and I hope that you will go out and explore art and take it in. You don't have to be an expert or have an MFA. You don't have to do any of that to appreciate art and love art. You can experience it on your own level, and it can be very, very personal, and as I think in many ways it should be. So I just encourage people, if you've ever felt like maybe you weren't a part of that world, or that wasn't for you, or you didn't know enough about it, and just want to say that that's not true, and you know, go out and experience it and have fun with it. And you know, it's a good time to be an artist, and it's a really great milestone to remember that you have a right to be included in that community too.
Mm-hmm. And Kaylee, can you give us the contact information for Stable?
Sure. We're mostly active on Instagram, and our Instagram handle is @StableArts. So STABLEATRS @StableArts. That's really the best way. Engage with us. We post art. We post fun things that are happening in our community. Yeah, the great programmings that we have. We've got a ton of programming that happens, and most of it is either like we ask for a suggested donation, but we don't turn anybody away. So even if you're worried about cost, you can still come and experience the art and be a part of the discussions with us. We welcome that.
Absolutely. And I just want to once again say thank you both so much for joining the conversation, and we truly appreciate you, and we will see you at our next event.
Thank you for coordinating.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you for being a part of this, and happy ADA30.
Hey. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.